All right, good morning. My name is Chase Nishi, Chairperson of the Authority. I'd like to now call to order the October 4th, 2023 Kakaako Authority meeting of the Hawaii Community Development. And the time is now 10:07.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, the Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's Kakaako board meeting virtually on Zoom. The Zoom link details were included in the meeting agenda. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom and also at our physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii, 96813. The HCDA communication staff is hosting this meeting. Once the meeting begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. This is a public virtual meeting, so to prevent any distractions, if you are not a board member, staff member, or HCDA's Attorney General, please turn off your video during the meeting. If you are providing public testimony, your name will be called accordingly. Please turn your video on, clearly state your name and affiliation and proceed with your testimony. When you are finished, please turn off your video. In accordance with section 92-3.7C, Hawaii Revised Statutes, if the authority's ICT connection for the remote meeting is lost, the meeting will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be terminated and the authority will continue the meeting at another notice date. Thank you. Chair.
HCDA board members, please remain visible and audible during the meeting. Also, please acknowledge you are present by either saying here or present. Let the record reflect the following members are present. Vice Chair Higa.
Present.
Member Miranda Johnson.
Present.
Member Anderson.
Present.
Member Evans.
Present.
Member Sakota.
Here.
And Member Apo and Member Hirai are excused.
We have quorum, Chair.
Thank you. For today's meeting, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments after an agenda item has been presented. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted into the meeting respectively. First item on the agenda is our regular meeting minutes of September 6, 2023. Board members, are there any comments or corrections to this minutes? If not, there's no comments or questions. The minutes are approved as presented. Item number 2, presentation by HCDA staff regarding the expiration of the Ward Neighborhood Master Plan permit on January 14, 2024. Mr. Ryan Tam, Director of Planning and Development, will now present the staff report. Ryan?
Hi, good morning, Chair Shi and board members, and the public. Again, the copy of the staff report is in your packets. This does involve the expiration of the Ward Neighborhood Master Plan. The master plan was originally approved in January 2009. And there was a clerical omission that was the authority adopted a note pro tunc order on in May 6, 2009. Again, the master plan permit, as in the staff report, as described in the staff report, the master plan permit was intended to provide a degree of certainty in the development approval process by assuring that the projects would not be restricted at the time of permitting by subsequent changes to the rules. So again, all the master plan vested the 2005 Mauka area rules for the duration of the plan. And Victoria Ward at that time also requested several modifications to the rules. Again, just kind of as summary, originally Victoria Ward Limited had proposed to develop 44,300 units. In actuality, they built or are planned to build 5,000 or are permitted to build 5,845 units. That does include 1,222 reserve housing units. So that's an excess of 53 reserve housing units. They planned about 9.3 million square feet of floor area. The actual permitted is 8.8 million square feet. And in terms of public facilities dedications, they had planned to provide or estimated 330,053 square feet of land. And in actuality, they are providing, planning to provide 364,725 square feet. In addition, the open space, they had estimated 262,000 square feet of open space, and they are delivering, permitting, and planning 429,000 square feet of open space. And so they're substantially exceeding the required open space. One area that we did want to note, I want to bring up I want to share an image of the master plan. So if you can see this, the image on your screen, this actually comes from the Ward Master Plan Addendum number 2, which there's a link in the staff report and it's on our website. This image shows the 2008 proposal for the master plan area. And this actually shows the ground floor. So the orange shows the planned retail at the ground floor. And you can kind of see the proposed developments and proposed public spaces. So most of the area, as you know, has been developed or permitted. The one area that is that was not redeveloped is a portion of kind of line block 5. So this is the area to the west of Ward Avenue, between Mount Kalikuila Street, approximately Ward Avenue, Bokaina, and then up to Ko'ula, essentially. And so they did keep about 280,000 square feet of existing commercial and industrial space instead of redeveloping it into towers. And they proposed an Eva Plaza previously. Again, that was redeveloped slightly to include the Hula Ale Park right next to the Lana housing, reserve housing. Other things, just it's really kind of interesting to see the kind of the evolution of the master plan. Again, Victoria Ward, Howard Hughes has been working with the agency, the authority, and the public over the years. And so again, Central Plaza, there was supposed to be a Kahi Street that kind of ran through. This has all been slightly different in terms of the actual implementation. The Diamond Head Plaza, originally that was slated to be in the middle, kind of in between essentially blocks D and E. At that time, however, they were planning to demolish the IBM building. So because that was preserved, they kept, pushed the 2 parcels over, moved the Diamond Head Plaza over to Kamakea Street, and then centralize it. So just really kind of interesting, the evolution. And as I kind of alluded to, as I mentioned before, I think one of the other differences from the master plan is I think they had planned or proposed, I think they envisioned a lot more kind of ground floor retail, a lot more activation of the street. And I think the actual implementation of that, there's kind of a lot more kind of parking structures and less ground floor retail. And also in terms of the wrap, I think they're envisioned to be a lot more of the residential units lining the parking structures, and so that, wasn't maybe done as much. Again, in terms of kind of moving forward, we did ask, Howard Hughes to come in, do a presentation in the next board meeting, so they can actually give you a more detailed, description of kind of what's been accomplished, over the years. And then we're gonna be working with them to see how to, account for some of if there's any, stipulations or anything that have remained to be completed.
And Chair, if I can add,
Yes.
one more thing to expand on what Brian said. As far as we know, Victoria Ward will not be extending their master plan. So the termination date is the termination date of January 2024. The other thing is that, for land block 5, which remains, undeveloped after the expiration of the master plan, if they're gonna do any redevelopment on land block 5, it will be, under the, rules existing at the time, not under the master plan vested rules. So just expanding on what Ryan said.
And if I may, this does differ from Kamehameha Schools, for example, which they did extend their master plan duration.
Okay. So we say Victoria Ward Limited is not looking to extend the master
They
plan
will, yeah, as far as I know,
at this point.
at this point,
Right.
I don't think they have any intention of doing that before January of 2024.
Yeah, Ryan, what would be very helpful is that when you do the presentation, if they can do a comparison on the affordable housing units that were proposed in the master plan comparatively to they have currently, their square footage of open area that they actually provided versus what they had proposed in the master plan. Similarly, the industrial and commercial square footages, right? Because it has varied, especially on the industrial side.
Yeah.
And so it'd be good to kind of do a comparison to see what was the original master plan square footage proportions and what the actuals came up to be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll pass it on.
Thank you, Chair.
Any other questions or comments for the staff report? Mary Member Evans?
Oh, thank you, Chair. Ryan, I wasn't able to hear what you said about the KS master plan. Does that also expire in January 24?
No, they extended, they amended their master plan, so they go on, I believe, to the 2031.
I believe so, yeah.
Second question, of the towers that were entitled in the Victoria Lord Limited master plan, how many have they started, and how many are left that they would be entitled to start prior to the expiration of the master plan, if any?
Offhand, so I think the ones that have been recently entitled,
Yeah.
right? So we just did D&E.
Yeah.
N West,
Mahana.
Mahana, we also entitled this year. And then Laonu.
Kalai.
Yeah, and Kalai.
Kalai.
Okay, so they're, if I can be a little informal, they're not leaving any of the entitled towers on the table after the expiration?
Meaning that the entitled towers, are they gonna commence with construction? Is that what you're asking, Member Ben?
Yes.
Go ahead, right.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think in terms of starting, so I think they are being, so I think we've entitled now all these towers. I think, D&E and N West, those still have to go through the whole permitting phase, and I think also market timing.
Building permit.
Building permit, yeah, right, so I think that they will still be a number of years before they get started.
But we don't believe, Member Evans, that for the projects that have been entitled by us, I mean, we don't believe they're gonna not start construction, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Okay, so I guess maybe what I was, maybe the term I meant was entitled under the master plan versus entitled through a decision in order for a development agreement. So the master plan envisioned or actually gave Victoria Ward Limited the ability to develop a certain number of towers, and they have done so. But I'm wondering if they, if when the master plan expires, if there will be towers that they have determined not to build.
Yeah, there's, and maybe I'll let them present that next month. But again, I think the area around block 5 and 6 that I highlighted, that the existing industrial area, I think there were a number of towers that were planning there. And actually, the next. Yeah, so sorry, if you look at this image on your screen, there was another tower to be located on the other side of Ward Avenue. And so that one was not
Okay.
titled.
And that will probably be left for after the master plan expires.
Although I guess they did actually a lot. I know they did move that. They did do the tower, a second one, just south of Polk, kind of. So.
Okay, Chair, I guess all of that will become clear when they make their presentation next month. So thank you very much. I appreciate your patience with my questions.
Thank you, thank you. Member Sakota, you had a question?
Yes. So this is something I've been asking kind of throughout all the meetings, but if Ryan, if you can get Howard Hughes to essentially clearly delineate sort of all the sections within Ward Village. I mean, one of the issues is that there's the Ward Village Owners Association, which will handle a lot of the common areas within Ward Village. So example, like the parks that are in there are not, public parks. They're managed by the Ward Village Owners Association. So those delineations have never been clear to me as far as if the individual building associations pay what landscaping versus, what is the Ward Village Owners Association versus what is the city and state responsibilities. So if that can be clearly delineated, that would help a lot, I think, going forward in kind of dealing with the expenses of the Ward Village Owners Association, which every unit in Ward Village, I think, pays like currently, I don't know, $8 or $9 a unit a month, I think, to that fund, so that providing the revenues to cover the expenses.
Okay, yep.
We'll ask Member Sakota, we'll ask Howard Hughes to present that information.
Thank you, Member Sakota.
Gotcha.
Member Anderson, you had a question?
Yes, I think it would be interesting just to understand the lessons learned from the master plan approach, the pros and cons of it versus, just having development rules in general. There must be good things and things that they didn't like about it. And then for me, it would be very interesting to see, I think one of the ideas of HCDAs that we're trying to encourage people to do urban living, and just in general, how much space would it have taken if we did single family homes versus this type of urban development? We have that picture that was shared earlier of how much space it took to create all this housing. Had we done, somewhere on the island, had we done an equal amount of single family homes, how much land would that have taken?
Yeah, that's really interesting. 5,000 units, that's half of what we need.
Yeah,
So.
thank you. Thank you, Member Anderson. Any other questions for our staff report? For Ryan? If not, is there any public testimony?
Madam Chair.
None? Okay. Let's go to our next, since there's no public testimony, let's go to our next item number 4, the monthly report and other status report. Approved permit applications that did not require HRS 206E-5.6 public hearings. So Executive Director Craig Nakamoto, we present the monthly report.
Thank you, Chair. The Executive Director's report is contained in tab 3 of your packets. I just want to highlight one thing in there. So in September, the authority HCDA entered into a contract with Hawaii Home Ownership Center, Center's Housing and Land Trust, HHOC. This was, if you recall, to provide an entity that could be available to buy back reserve housing units when people intend to sell those units. So we did procure and we got HHOC, and the contract is signed. HHOC is, ramped up and they're ready to go. And since the contract was executed, there were 2 reserve housing units that were offered to HHOC for buyback. The one of them was a studio unit with the one assigned parking, and that was located in A'ali. And the other is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit located in Kekilohana. So HHOC reviewed those 2 units for possible buyback. They analyzed those and looked at the market and looked at the units, and they declined both. The reason they declined the Ali unit was one, it was a studio. It was a smaller studio, and there was a lot of a good number of all these market units on the market. So they declined. I believe that they felt they might not be able to, resell those units, and that's the whole purpose, is for whether it's HCDA buying it back or it's HHFC buying it back. The point is not to hold it, but to buy it back. So they declined on that one. And then for Kekilohana, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath unit. They decided to decline or pass on that one just because of the pending litigation that is, dealing with Kekilohana, and the difficulty in getting financing based on that pending litigation. So they declined to buy back that unit. For the same reasons, the staff, we looked at those 2 units for possible buyback. And I think for the same reasons, we decided to decline. It's not the ideal situation, but like HHOC, we're not in the sort of setup, and we don't want to hold these units indefinitely. Our desire is to, buy it and sell it and get it back on the market as reserve housing units. I think there will be opportunities where we look at a unit and we do buy it back, but unfortunately, these 2 units were not one of them. Thank you, Chair.
Questions for the Executive Director?
Chair,
Member Evans?
will these 2 units which have apparently years left on their reserve housing status, when they're sold by the seller without the buyback intermediate step, will the reserve housing requirement continue for the new buyer?
So two things. Once we waive buyback like this, they can sell it. Now, when they sell it, they're gonna have to pay us equity sharing on it.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't have to go back to reserve housing but we do get the equity share
Correct.
portion
We
when it
released
found sale.
Yeah, we released,
We
once
released-
we waive it, we released it from as a reserve housing, but the equity sharing remains.
Remains.
We release when they pay the share.
Yeah, we release when they pay, yeah, the equity sharing. But and that equity sharing requirement goes to the life of the unit.
Correct.
Release it.
Member Sakota.
You know, I just want to make the comment, but this is something that I think we haven't really spoken to or addressed to, but you know, with the number of buildings that are coming up, just in the Kakaako area, you know, insurance will be an ongoing issue in terms of flood insurance and property insurance. In terms of there'll be gaps there that it may be hard to get financing, and I'm more concerned about that every building, and as far as the litigation is concerned, almost every building that's been built so far has gone through some sort of construction defect litigation, again, inhibiting sort of financing issues. And the conflict I have is essentially that, you know, we're trying to develop reserve housing when, you know, some of these issues will actually prevent or have major impacts to sort of increase cost for the buyer. And I think we need to consider this kind of in how we address the buildings going forward. You know, it's a concern here at Anaha, the building that I live in. It's a concern at Waia, which is another high-end building. But almost every building, Kekilohana is going through it as well. You know, and we see sort of the risks of purchasing for the sort of the affordable buyer is high. And I think that's something that we need to consider.
Thank you, Member Sakota.
Any other questions? Comments? No? Okay. If not, thank you for those who joined us on Zoom. We don't have any more public testimony. No. Thank you for those who joined us in Zoom or in person. This concludes our business for today. And the meeting is now adjourned and the time is 10:35. Thank you. We'll just